You be welcome to train all of this.
Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. Hey guys, welcome back to Pop Culture with Pat. Today we're talking about Looks That Kill. So to be honest, guys, I actually had no idea that this film was coming out until probably about like a week or two ago. It's a VOD release, as far as I know. Doesn't have any theatrical release. If it is, nowhere around here. And it is coming out like on Blu-ray, I believe, like later in August. But right now, it's on like Amazon Prime, YouTube, stuff like that. So I ended up stumbling upon this it was like a trailer I saw on something like on Instagram or Facebook, one of those sites. And, I was just like, this looks interesting. And, to be honest, we don't really have a lot of options as far as, new movies go. So I was like, hey, what the heck? I'm going to check this out. So as far as the plot goes, basically this film is about a boy he was born with a lethally attractive face. So anytime someone sees his face, they die. And so from a young age, he wears these bandages all over his head to cover his face because he doesn't want to kill anyone. And as you can imagine, he's kind of like an outsider, doesn't really have many friends, but then he ends up meeting this girl, Alex, and as the movie goes on, he forms this, really close connection with her because you find out that she has some, surprises kind of going on in her own life as well. As far as the two main characters, so Brandon Flynn, he plays Max, and then Julia Goldani Tellez plays Alex. Apologize if I got that, pronounced that wrong. And then this film is directed by Kellen Moore. So like I said, I had absolutely no idea really what I was getting into. Yes, I did watch the trailer, but this was something I didn't know this film was even coming out. So, but after watching the trailer, I kind of got those vibes, like a little. It looks like a really quirky film, a little bit of like a Tim Burton-esque kind of feel to it, just like a little bit. Also kind of reminds me of like some films that like Winona Ryder or like Christina Ricci would have like been in earlier in their career. And then just like the premise I just thought was really interesting. It was something that I haven't seen done like a million times. And that was, this kid having a lethally attractive face. So anytime someone actually sees him, with the bandages off, they end up dying. I was just like, doesn't sound like, something that's been done a lot. So I was like, okay, that's always good to have an original story. At the same time, though, what the plot is kind of weird. So if it wasn't handled right, I could have seen this film being super cheesy or just really, really bad. But in my opinion, they actually end up finding a good way to strike a good balance and make the film work. I think a big part of why this film works so well for me too, and I think it's because of the two main stars. So you have Alex and Max. And I think they just had this really, their chemistry is great in the film. These two actors, they did a great job, both really, really solid performances. And I loved the dark comedy, that they just bounced off each other. And I don't know, I guess I kind of can sometimes have a little bit of a dark comedic side to me too. So maybe that's why I kind of latched onto it a little bit more. But yeah, I thought the chemistry with these guys was fantastic. And so you, in my opinion, you really cared about these characters. And, anytime, obviously, you can invest in characters, invest in a story, most times, you're really going to enjoy that film. I think you also get really likable characters as far as, some of the smaller and, side characters, too. Max's parents, they're both pretty funny, which I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head, but I was like, wow, I don't think I had seen him in a movie since Snow Day. Yeah, so he plays Max's dad, and I can't think of the guy's name right now, but I was just like, that was just really funny to see, because like I said, maybe I just missed, some of his films, but I haven't seen him in anything, at least I can think of off the top of my head since then, so that was funny. But you have the parents, you also have Max's friend, Dan. He's a really funny guy, he has some, funny moments throughout the film. And then you also, at one point, Alex, she works at this nursing home, and she, helps care for these people, one of which has dementia and stuff like that. And both of those characters were really likable too. So just overall, the cast I thought was done really well. They made some great choices as far as these characters go. And then, actually, there's also a foreign exchange student that ends up coming and staying with Max's family for a duration of the film. and she doesn't really like have like any like lines, but she's, you know, pretty funny as well. So yeah, overall, I thought the cast, you know, whoever the casting director was, did a fantastic job because really made the film work with, you know, all these interesting characters in the movie. And like I said, another thing that I really liked about this movie is that it does a really good job of balancing the, you know, comedic dark comedy, you know, moments with, there's definitely a little bit more serious kind of like drama stuff too. And some people, yeah, I feel like you might be going into this thinking it's like, oh, it's like your typical like teen romance kind of film. But I didn't like get that feeling really at all. I thought this movie had a lot of heart, and it wasn't something that was like super cheesy. Like I said, the concept was, you know, was something that was original, and just being able to balance that, you know, the comedy with like that drama, because sometimes those things don't go well together. And I thought they did a really good job as like far as that goes. Nothing felt really like out of place to me, as you know, in the story. I would actually, you know, there was times where it's like I would find myself, you know, like laughing at some of the, you know, jokes and stuff that these characters would be making, and then the next moment it was like, oh shit, like this is like, you know, some serious stuff, and this is actually kind of sad. Yeah, so just a heads up, guys. You know, some of you might cry out there. It definitely has, you know, its moments in this movie. But overall, like I said, I just had a really good story. I fell in love with these characters. And I think also it was just something that I wasn't expecting. You know, it's a movie that I had no idea was coming out. And so I didn't really have like high expectations going into it, but I ended up really enjoying it, and I for sure am going to be picking this up when it comes out on Blu-ray, which I believe is August 18th. I want to say for sure. But yeah, you know, let me know. I know this is a movie that I feel like probably not a lot of people have seen like so far, but if you have seen it, I'm really curious to see, you know, what your opinions are down below in the comments. And if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you guys check it out. I would say as far as a score goes, I'm going to give this a solid 8.5 out of 10. That's right. I really enjoyed this film. It was a big surprise for me. Loved the cast, loved the characters, you know, pretty much everything about it. Honestly, I can't really think of too much off the top of my head that was, you know, was like negative. But yeah, so like I said, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. And as always, guys, make sure to check back for more Pop Culture with Pat.